In the previous video, I made the statement that you're better off buying an old GoPro than one of those cheap Amazon action cameras. So in the spirit of science, I decided to put my money where my mouth is with this, the CamPark ACT74 2020 upgrade, whatever that means. Now, according to the specs, this camera has 4K electronic image stabilization, built-in Wi-Fi, and it comes with a ton of accessories. There's even a lav mic. How cool is that? Now, in terms of build quality, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence. It's a small, very plasticky device. You know, when you pick up a GoPro or an Osmo Action, they have a surprising amount of weight given how small they are, and it feels kind of reassuring. It's sort of robust and sturdy feeling. The CamPark feels like even if a small child stepped on this barefooted, it would smash into a million pieces. And another aspect of the CamPark ACT74 that probably won't wow you is the LCD screen. You know, when I was looking at reviews for this on Amazon, I saw one person say, it actually makes me feel cross-eyed when I look at this screen. The screen is really bad. I thought they were kind of joking or just being negative for the sake of the review, but seeing this camera in person, I actually understand what that person's talking about. This is literally one of the worst LCD screens I've ever seen. There's no good viewing angles. Whether you look at it from the sides, from the top, from the bottom, straight on, there's always a weird shimmery, mirrory kind of effect where you can't quite see the image in the camera. You know, and it doesn't matter if it's bright daylight or indoors in dark environments, it's hard to see in any circumstance. And the other thing that I noticed too is the LCD screen always has like this blue tint to it where it's sort of hard to gauge like what your footage actually looks like. But spoiler alert, your footage probably doesn't look that good to begin with, so it really doesn't matter. Now, in terms of video, the CamPark does give you 4K 30, 2.7K 30, and 1080p at 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. And in all honesty, all of those resolutions look like 720p up-resed. None of them look true to what they're actually supposed to be. You know, another bizarre aspect to not just this camera, but all of these sort of cheap Amazon action cameras is there's no 24 frames per second. Like any of the resolutions, there's no 24 FPS. I've seen out of all of these sort of cheap Amazon action cameras, there was one Akaso camera that had like 4K 24. And even that camera, that's all it had. There was no 24 frames per second in any of the other resolutions. And it's like, I don't understand why they don't have that. You know, it would be one thing if 24 frames per second was like high technology and it was gonna make the camera cost more and that's why it's not in there. That's simply not the case. For whatever reason, they just don't put 24 FPS in any of these cameras. And unfortunately, image stabilization is nothing to write home about. If you're picturing GoPro level hyper smooth or DJI Osmo Action level rock steady, this is not it by any stretch of the imagination. Anytime you see footage that does have image stabilization, there's always this weird digital artifacting and there's always a little bit of like sort of rolling shutter. It doesn't look good. Another frustrating aspect of the CamPark ACT74 is just the menu system. It's not a touch screen and there's about 6 pages worth of menus, which you have to go through every single page just to get out of the menu system. It's like 6 pages plus a little X. So you have to go through every single page just to get to that X, at which point then you can close out of the menu system. So there's no quick way to access anything. So you might think, okay, well, I'll just use the app then. The app doesn't work. And with a lot of these generic Amazon action cameras, there's actually about 6 or 7 different apps that are all exactly the same. They just have different names. I've tried each and every one of them and literally all of them hang up on the exact same place. Not a single one of them was ever able to connect to the camera at all. Over days worth of use, it just never worked. And of course, that leads us to the most important thing of all, image quality. The image quality from the CamPark ACT74 is just abysmal. It's literally some of the grossest looking footage I've ever seen. You know, with a lot of these sort of cheap Amazon action cameras, their claim to fame is that they use a Sony sensor. Spoiler alert, most of the world is using a Sony sensor, but beyond that, they're using Sony sensors from compact cameras and camcorders from like 2009. So it's not like there's nothing prestigious like, ooh, it's a Sony sensor. No, it's just really ugly looking footage from a very old, outdated sensor and a very slow, underpowered processor. Overall, you're not going to be happy with the image quality you're getting from this camera. You know, overall, it just goes back to what I said in the original video. If you want a cheap action camera that actually works, just buy an old GoPro. You know, this CamPark camera was $60, but it's on sale right now for $35 due to the Black Friday sales that are going on all month. Meanwhile, GoPro Hero 4 Silver was originally $400, and now you can find it used for around 60 bucks. The GoPro Hero 4 Silver is an actually good camera that's actually fun to use and will give you actually good footage, whereas all of these cheap knockoff cameras will just make you frustrated. You know, in all honesty, like, filming this video, I've been dragging my feet for an entire week because I haven't enjoyed using this camera. I haven't felt like making this review because it's like the footage looks so bad. It's so ugly and so unusable that I don't feel inspired at all. Whereas every other review I've done on this channel, I'm excited about filming. Every day I get up and I'm like, I'm ready to go out and start filming with that camera. With this camera, I just genuinely didn't enjoy the experience. And I think a lot of people are gonna feel that same way, you know? If you wanna spend under $100, there's plenty of good old GoPros out there just waiting for you. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.